Um,
Not really.
no.
Just cause.
Think it's mostly like we love Ryan Zarya, and I think
Mm-hmm.
Ryan Zarya is pretty comparable. But
Mm-hmm.
we were kind of in a weird place of the maps we had played. They had been outdoing us on the comps that weren't Ryan Zarya centric maps, right? So
Yeah.
Hmm.
I tend to go Sig just because I find he's more versatile and he's kind of
Especially for the Doom, because the Doom was such a problem. Nobody else had any CC at all.
right.
Mm-hmm.
So I like to go Sig when I'm like unsure because I just find he's extremely versatile.
Oh, that's understandable. Do you guys know? So this would obviously be considered a double shield comp, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So do you guys know like how you would be looking to play this here?
We'd probably be going over right side into White Room.
Uh, yeah. Sorry. Let me rephrase. Do you know who
Oh.
you would be shielding here?
Uh, legitimately, nobody.
It's kind of like a hindsight thing, right? But you
Yes.
look at the comp and you go, all right, we've got tons of shield for the back line, but
Oh,
we
that's
don't really
why
have a back
I
line.
I think
swapped
at this
off
point in
Ryan at
time I
some
was
point.
calling to play Sigma Winston here.
Yeah.
Sid Winston is a little weird.
Oh, yes.
The only reason I say that is because it kind of causes like a rift between the tank line because you've seen like anytime you see like a monkey, you've always seen it paired with like. I go and get my little pen out. Make sure it's working. Okay, cool. So anytime you see like a monkey, you always see it with like a diva. You see it with like Zarya, or you see it with like a ball sometimes, right?
Right.
Hmm.
That's because ball and monkey can obviously go in together. Diva and monkey can go in together, and Zarya can use her bubble
Right.
for the monkey when he goes in. The only issue with Sig is Sig can't really support a monkey. And Sig can't peel for Monkey because Sig is all about like Sig has his compatible matches. Sig can go well with Ryan, because then it's double shield. Sig can go well with Orisa,
Yep.
because same thing, it's double shield. And all in both of these situations, Sig is able to effectively support or peel for the tank, and Sig can also go with like even like a hog. Right, Sig can go with Hog,
Like a
and
ball
sometimes
for certain maps.
yeah. Sometimes you'll see Sig and Hog. Sometimes you'll see Sig Ball. That's not super common because it's a similar situation to like Sig with Monkey. Although
Yeah.
with Ball is a lot more independent. So when you see Sig Ball, it's not really like a Sig and a Ball. It's like Sig and then Ball
Yeah.
over here,
I
as
see
opposed
it
to
really
like.
on Nepal that like either
Mhm.
one where Ball just wants to play for boobs.
Yeah. But so I'd say when you guys are picking your tank lineup, think about the compatibility between your tanks because you guys are in almost any situation you're going to be kind of like tag teaming off of one another, right?
Right.
And I can actually show you. I didn't. I'm gonna have to try to find it. But like the current meta is the Monkey Diva like hybrid brawl dive comp, right? Do you guys know what I'm talking about?
Hmm.
Vaguely.
Yeah. So
I don't
yeah,
know.
yeah.
Like
So
my issue with the current meta is that the DPS picks are like so map dependent that I'm having trouble like figuring it
well,
out, I guess.
That's fair. So actually, with current meta, there's so the current meta is it's the Monkey
Yeah.
Diva. Then that you have the typically it's like Moira Lucio, and then you have a Sombra, and then the other DPS pick is kind of Flex, but it's
Yeah.
normally a Reaper, which causes
Hi.
it's like a hey,
And
what's
the
up,
Brawl
guys?
Comp.
Yeah, exactly. So with the Reaper, it creates the brawl comp, right? And that's
Yeah.
because you have the Reaper, and so you're with the Reaper more playing a little close. So it's a hybrid comp,
Right.
between brawl and dive because you have Reaper and Moira, which are obviously brawl centric characters, but then you have Sombra, who's kind of flexible. You have Monkey Diva, which is a dive tank, things like that. So it's a hybrid between a brawl and dive. Now
Right.
the other variations you see is you kind of keep that Sombra, but instead of a Reaper, sometimes you'll see an Ashe
Yeah.
or a soldier. Now that soldier is kind of good too. So you see Asha and soldier, and then you replace this Lucio
With the
with
mercy.
with the mercy, exactly. And
Yeah.
this is the spam variant of this comp, because now you're not looking to play quickly, you're looking to play slow, you're looking to poke them out.
But they still run the Moira?
Yeah, you typically still want to run the Moira. You can run an Ana. However, the only risk with an Ana is if the enemy team has a D.Va, D.Va is going to be able to eat a lot of Ana's kit.
Healing? Yeah.
Exactly. Well, it's not just her healing, but her sleep and her anti as well.
Right, okay, that makes sense.
And so it kind of depends on the map a little bit, and it depends on what they're running. If they're running a Reaper, then I would say Moira still is still a good pick. If they're running like a 6-man, or if they're running another type of variant outside of the Reaper, then you could potentially look into an Ana pick. But that's more dependent on the situation, and that's also that's a support thing, so I'm not too worried about that right now.
Right.
But then the last one would be, instead of it being spam, instead of it being brawl, is you'll see the like a tracer as well. And so
right,
this is it's called 6-man because it's a 6-man dive, and then you typically swap out the Moira for an Ana anyways, and then you have your Lucio.
Lucio, yeah.
And the reason why you get rid of the Moira for an Ana is, even though we're just talking about that with the D.Va, it's because with the 6-man dive, you're basically diving in with everybody and then with Ana's nade.
Yeah.
Because D.Va isn't going to be looking to DM as often in this matchup, because D.Va is going to be looking to deal with DMing her monkey from the Trace and the Sombra and stuff like that, and so you're looking to dive in with the nade, and Ana is able to kind of have some freedom, because if her team is staging properly, then the enemy team won't be able to pressure her as often, and Moira simply just can't follow in on a dive. Some people I have seen swap out that the Ana for like a Mercy, but that's kind of like here and there. Yeah, I don't like it either. I find it lacks a lot of utility. But so I've seen some people do it and it works, but so in all yeah. So in all of these, right? So those are the typical the three main branches. Is there's the spam hybrid, then there's the dive hybrid, and then there's the
6-man.
Yeah. That dive is the 6-man, but then there's the brawl. Cool. Yeah. But in all of those, you're seeing the Monkey D.Va. Now the Monkey D.Va playstyle is kind of different in all of those, but that's the main the main thing that you're seeing right now. And occasionally you'll see the Monkey D.Va be swapped out for a Rein Zarya on certain close quarters maps.
Right, where you can actually hold corners.
Yeah, exactly. When you can do a lot of corner play, but what you always have to watch out for, because you can also run a Rein D.Va, but you can't be running Rein D.Va against a Rein Zarya. It doesn't work, because anytime you're running D.Va against Zarya, you're really risking feeding the Zarya ult charge every fight, because you can't DM her. She has bubbles for your micro missiles. Zarya really kind of outmatches D.Va in the in the off tank lineup, unless there's a lot of high ground advantage that D.Va can play behind, because D.Va doesn't want to be on equal ground with the Zarya. If there's high ground to play, and D.Va's able to be up here and keep the Zarya on low ground, that's different. But if they're both on low ground, it's not a good matchup for the D.Va. So those are just some things that you have to watch out for, because what you're always kind of looking for between the tank duo is you need synergy between yourselves, and you need synergy between your team. And you have to realize that even though there's not that many tanks in the game, it's not so much about knowing how to play the different heroes, it's knowing what play style you need to be looking at in the different situations. Because a Rein Zarya is going to play different against another Rein Zarya than it would be playing against an Orisa, an Ori Sig, which would be different from how it would be against a Monkey D.Va. So even though I don't doubt your ability to play Rein or your ability to play Zarya, but it's knowing how to play it in this matchup, how to play it in this matchup, and how to play it in this matchup.
Right.
And because sometimes you can play around it, sometimes you have to recognize, hey, this is going against what we should be doing, and so this is when we need to look to swap. And one of the harder things about current meta is because it's a hybrid comp, and so hybrid comps are obviously it's a mix between two different comps. And I was talking to Maven, I think, the other day about it, about how I think it's kind of important to teach the fundamental comps, or at least teach like kind of how they work, because I feel like it's important to know what the original source is before you try to mix two different playstyles. Because like just as a very general thing, right? There is like a rock paper scissors kind of ideology that's been in effect in Overwatch for a long time, and which is that Brawl kind of loses to spam, right? So Brawl loses to spam, spam loses to dive, and dive loses to Brawl. And the reason for that is because Brawl wants to be able to close in. They want to close that space, and spam is all about creating space and holding space. And typically, by the time the Brawl comp gets to the enemy team, they've lost all of their resources and end up just not having any resources for the fight, because Brawl is all about cooldown management. You know, you need your barrier, you need bubbles, things like that, and you use all of those to get to the spam comp, and then by then you don't have them for the actual fight. So Brawl loses to spam, spam loses to dive, because dive is able to close that distance using what they want to use, and so spam isn't able to maintain that gap that they want. But then dive loses to Brawl, because Brawl doesn't need to close on that dive that distance, because dive does it for them. So that's kind of like the general rock paper scissors. And so when you're looking at, okay, so we have like the current meta dictates a mix between Brawl and dive. So that's when you have to go, okay, so obviously these dive tanks, which is what you guys run with the Monkey Diva, the dive tanks lose to Brawl tanks or to a Brawl playstyle. So you have to look at, okay, how do we play these dive tanks in a Brawl playstyle? And one of the things that you have to look for is all of the resources that you have available, right? So in any type of situation, like I said, is your tanks are looking to kind of, ping pong off of one another. So, you guys are running a double shield right now. So you'd be looking to either stack your barriers. So you would have Rhine barrier up, and the one that gets low, you throw Sig barrier out to let Rhine barrier recharge. And then you use Sig suck and things like that. So you're looking to, tag out your barriers. Now, granted, with the comp that we're running, we're not really needing this barrier length. This comp would be a comp that you would be looking for in like a hybrid between spam and Brawl. And the reason for that is because obviously you're able to hold, whatever point you want to hold, you're able to hold it for a long time. And then you have, tanks that are able to also Brawl at the same time. So that would be kind of like what you'd be looking for. But then you have to look, okay, we have a high mobility. We have, this dude that's playing in the air, and we have high mobility. So we could look to swap this Sig out for like a Zarya. You could do a Diva, although I probably wouldn't, not on this map. If you're saying, hey, their Doom has been a problem, then I would definitely recommend going with a Zarya, because even if you don't have the CC to deal with them, you're not going to be able to save your rock just for Doom. And I don't know if you guys know this or not yet, but also having the ball, also having the Genji, right? Like, you only have one rock, and they simply outnumber the resources that you have to what you're needing. So if you alone aren't able to because you can't deal with a Doom going in and a ball going in and a Genji going in. You only have one rock. And so at that point, you have to go, okay, well, if we don't have the CC to stop them from doing it, then I can mitigate what they're doing, and you can do that with the Zarya, because then you can bubble whoever the Doom goes on. Even if you're not able to kill him, you're able to stop him from killing somebody else.
Right.
Okay.
So you're able to kind of play around it that way. And so that way you're also still able to tag out with your Rhine player, right? Because, Rhine Zarya has always been a very strong comp. And on top of that, they don't have an off tank; they just have the monkey. And so because of that, having a Zarya here, you're definitely be able to feed off of the monkey or off of the ball, because they're only gonna have the one barrier. And because we have a Lucio, we can speed into monkey bubble and then just beam them down. So we're able to kind of play well that way. The other option would be to run like dive tanks together, right? So you could do like a monkey diva or monkey ball. Whatever, but that way you guys are able to tag with one another, and you're able to play with the rest of your team.
Yeah.
So normally what I always say is I like to build team comps based around the tank line, unless there's, outside circumstances. If we have somebody who, they're like they're like a Chips of Doom, right? And that like they're known for their Doom play. They pop off every game on Doom. Then okay, we'll build a comp around Doom. But that's not normally the case. And so normally I like to build the comp around the tank line, because the tank line is going to dictate how everything else plays. And if you guys are looking to get away from Ryan Zarya comps, just so that way you can practice other things, then I would say, you know, look into some of the other like pure comps, if you want to call them that, right, instead of hybrid comps, just for the time being, because it'll help solidify that type of play style for you and your team. And then you can later on, once you get those fundamentals down, you're able to much more easily, you know, transfer over to any of those hybrid type comps. So, you know, you could look to do like a spam comp if you wanted to do that right now, which is totally viable because Soldier is actually not bad. Right. So you could do, you know, like you could do like Ori Sig, or even you could even do like a Ryan Sig, or if you wanted to, right? But you can run like a double shield, and then you run like Ashe Soldier, then you do like Zen and Mercy, right? But it all starts with the tank line, and then you build the DPS and the supports off of that, because this is dictating the playstyle. So you guys have to make sure that you have synergy between each other and then between the rest of your team. And so you just have to, you know, think about how you play with your off tank. And one of the important things that I know is the main focus that Trouble wanted to talk about was the comms. And normally the main tank is going to be like the shot caller, and then I sent some comm stuff to one of the members a while ago, and I don't know if they ever like shared it with you guys. But shot calling and target calling are kind of, they're very related, but they're typically two different things. So like the shot caller is typically going to like dictate the pathing of the team. So the shot caller might say, okay, you know, we're gonna go in, let's go white because we have double barrier, right? I'm not even worried about the rest of the team, right? But just saying, okay, you know, we got double barrier, let's go white. We could go bridge, you know, it depends on what we want. If we wanted to go bridge, we could do that. If we think that they're going to be running like Doom and a dive comp, then we maybe don't go wide because they're just going to close that in. So we would just want to go into white room because they can't dive indoors, right? So, you know, like as the main tank, because you're leading the team, you need to be dictating where your team is going.
Yeah.
So you call, okay, you know, let's go white here. And then that's also when you can kind of look to set up the trigger point, right? So you might say, okay, you know, we go white when Monkey slams in, or when Monkey jumps in, we look to bubble off or rock the Monkey or something like that, right? So you're setting the trigger point. That's when your team, they know where they're going, they know when they're actually engaging into the fight.
Okay.
And then target calling is typically going to be on the main tank, but not always, because it kind of depends on the comp. In this comp here, running like a pharmacy, oftentimes the Pharah is actually going to be the main like target caller, because she's putting out, you know, lots of like damage boosted rockets, and so you guys are looking to follow up on that damage. And so that would be a situation where you might call the pathing, but then Pharah will just call her direct rockets. What one of my teams does is we always keep the main tank as the actual target caller, and then we have the other person giving like vital intel, right? So like Sombra being meta, one of the common things that our Sombra player will do is they just call out people who are low health, because that's Sombra's passive. So she might say, you know, like on a low, ball low, Doom low, and then our main tank Ryan could say, okay, you know, we're on Doom, go Doom, go Doom, right? And so you're getting all the intel, and so you're able to make those decisions, right? If you hear, oh, you know, on a no sleep, ball low, Genji on her backline, then you have all this info to pick what you think is the best target at the time. And so those should be done by typically the main tank, because the main tank should be in the front, because the rest of the team is typically going to be behind it, you know. So wherever you guys are, you know, if you're running, you know, like a Ryan Sig, you know, the rest of your team is going to be behind you, so you guys are going to be leading this charge. And so that's why it's typically up to the main tank to be, you know, making those calls. And as the off tank, you're there to basically make sure that the main tank has the support he needs, and make sure that the enemy team isn't able to simply walk around him. And so one of the things that Trouble, I think it was you that we were talking about putting the Sig across on that like Eichenwald third point.
Yep.
Yeah, and I think that like that's a good idea, and the whole point of that is to stop them from just swinging around wide, you know. Because like if we had like our Ryan Sig here, and then the rest of the team was holding on point, and then the enemies just swing wide like this, then they're able to just go around our tank line. And so that's why we put Ryan and then put like our Sig like over here, because that way they can't just swing around. Or, you know, if they do filter out, and now they're coming this way, then our sig might kind of filter over to here to again put that wall up. So the off tank is typically there to help support the main tank, make sure they can't just walk him down, and then make sure that they can't walk around him either. That's the same type of idea in like Monkey D.Va, because the whole thing is Monkey's going to be diving in, but D.Va needs to be DMing him in so that way he doesn't get slapped, anti-burn down, whatever while he's jumping. Is the D.Va needs to actually lead the dive, because Monkey jump is much quicker than D.Va boosters. So D.Va actually starts out with the boosters using DM, and then Monkey jumps a second afterwards, so that way he's DM'd on his engage. But that's also why you need to be like, oh, what's up?
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Kind of off topic. Sorry, I'm listening. And you're in Tranquility League, right?
Not currently, but I'm in the server.
Oh, okay. Never mind. Okay. Sorry about that. I mixed you up with someone else. Sorry.
That's all good. No worries. I did play Tranquility before, but I was playing with Bird Society. It was the highest transcendence, I think it is.
Yeah, I'm a part of Clovers. I'm trying to remember. So.
I gotcha. Yeah. Yeah. So I know that you guys wanted to definitely talk about comms, and I'm trying to find where I sent those comms to. Oh, like it was like the Google Doc or whatever, where I just wrote out a bunch of them.
No, I haven't seen that. Sorry.
Okay, no worries. I'm trying to find it so you are able to see it. I just gotta figure out where the fuck I sent it to. Oh, here it is.
Comms roles.
Yeah, the comms roles. Yeah, so the ult tracker, ult planner, fight caller, scout intel, shot caller, yeah, all those things. And then there's the actual kind of rough ideas to the timing on it. And that's something that it's not just on you guys as the tank line, because the whole idea between the comms roles is you kind of divvy up the responsibilities. And this is something that you see, at the highest levels and whatnot, is things that are honestly really, really simple, because it's simple in design because it's the execution in which it matters.
Right.
And that's why, if I were to talk about the current meta, then, how I was talking about, what the actual meta is as of right now, right? So there's the Monkey, God, I can never fucking spell. Monkey, D.Va, Reaper, Sombra, Moira, Lucio. Jeez, Lucio. I can tell you, basically, Monkey fights the other monkey, Reaper fights the other monkey, D.Va DMs the monkey, Sombra hacks the D.Va, Lucio pressures the Sombra to stop the hack, and Moira just heals. Everybody has the one job, right? Monkey goes to Monkey, D.Va DMs, Reaper goes to Monkey, Sombra goes to D.Va, Lucio goes to Sombra, Moira just heals. That's all they do. Really, obviously you could get more into it about positioning and timings and, ult usage and all that stuff.
Right.
But the main thing is very, very simple. And it's the same thing with comms, right? The main tank is going to call the pathing and, give a rough plan. Okay, this is what we're doing, right? So we're going to go this way, we're looking for this. And then that's when, you guys are just kind of filtering out. You should roughly know where you're going to be going, because, the Rhine is going to obviously be playing a corner. The Sig is going to be playing near the Rhine at a minor angle, right? It's not like a huge off angle, right? Because a big old off angle, you might see the Rhine here, and then you might see a Sig over here, right? That'd be a really big off angle. But then you're not able to actually peel for one another. And so, as the off tank, you're typically looking to take a minor angle, right? And so, if I were to kind of get in here, right? Oftentimes, what you'll see all the time is on when you're running dive tanks, is you put the where's my mouse? Oh, there it is. Is you put the monkey here, and then you put D.Va here, because then it's these minor off angles, because they can't just walk onto the monkey because D.Va's there. They can't just walk onto the D.Va because monkey bubble is there. So you guys are able to kind of bounce off of one another like that. And those are things that aren't normally in comms. Those are things that you guys should just kind of. I say those are things you guys should just kind of know, but it's not inherent information. That's stuff that you guys will learn as you play with one another and as you learn how to play with one another.
That's something we kind of do, but I feel like if we really nuanced it, we could be more efficient with who goes where. Like in that situation, if we were talking Ryan Zarya, typically we peek Ryan, bait them to come to Ryan, and then Zarya is ready to support at an off angle. You know?
Yeah, so like if you had your Ryan playing right here for corner play, then your Zarya can hover like honestly like right around here. And the only reason for that is because that way she still has cover and she's able to kind of play, this LOS piece. Or she can play close to the Ryan and then swing out like that and then come back. And then, as the engagement happens, she can take a wide angle rotation here, or she can rotate here if Ryan is rotating back. Things like that. So exactly like you said, like playing off of one another and then just kind of optimizing that. And I haven't seen too much of you guys play, only because all of the VOD reviews that I've done, I've been focused on like the team as a whole.
As a whole, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And like I definitely know how to do like this more like intricate stuff like that. I've just always been asked to do like overall team VODs. And so that's why that I've been doing that, and I can definitely help with that, but I can also help a lot more by kind of going through these individual pieces and kind of seeing how they play. What's up?
The thing I really liked about your Eichenwald VOD review is that on second point, the enemy team were setting up like you were using the term kill boxes, and I really like that because that shows a lot of in-depth about like the macro play, the fight planning, and the composition. And that's something that like while we're still in the early stages of building our comp, or rather our players, it's something that we need to consider more, because genuinely like as this map started, like there was 2 comps being called for us to play, and we didn't do either of them. So we ended up in this weird situation with a terrible composition, and straight up we get rolled here. Like we had a bit of a chance, but we get rolled.
You lost at the pick screen because there's just a division. Like these 2 aren't bad picks, and this comp isn't bad, but there's it's unsynchronistic within itself. Because like we were just talking about, it's double shield, but then you guys aren't really shielding anybody, and so you're using your resources without the proper follow up.
Right. Yeah, and like in terms of all of Lijiang for us, like the first 2 maps were really difficult for us, and then the third map is just a generic Ryan Zarya map, so we naturally do well there.
Also, Ryan, just as like a general thing, typically you don't want to do long range charges, because it leaves this much space for something to go wrong. Typically you want to charge, just into the closest wall.
Yeah.
It's harder to dodge, and it's less time for shit to happen.
Sorry to interrupt. I have a question about Ryan Zarya.
Yeah.
So, is it because you said the main tank usually calls where to go and stuff, but for Ryan Zarya, is it more common for the Zarya to micromanage the Ryan because of bubble cooldowns?
Yes and no. The Ryan will call the pathing and the engagement, but the Zarya is going to be feeding him intel. So when Zarya uses bubble, she'll call, no personal, no projected, or, whatever terms you guys want to use. Those are the ones I've always used, just personal, bubble, and projected. So, Ryan might say, all right, like rotate left here, rotate left. And then Zarya might say, like, oh, no bubbles, stabilize. And then something like that. So that way, like the team is still making this call, they're still making this rotation, and they just take a second, like a breather, right? So like if we were to go, white room here, right, and then on the way over, they have a hog or something, and he tries to get a hook, and Zarya bubbles herself. Then Zarya says, no personal, like soft resetter, or no personal, play slow or something like that. So she's calling it out, so the Ryan knows that. Right, and so what I always say is, with comms, make the comms said. Don't talk over people, but just say it like in a very normal voice, because those who need to hear it will be listening for it, and those who don't need to hear it will be able to ignore it. Because obviously the Ryan players should be listening for those bubble calls from their off tank, right? Ryan might hear the Zarya say, or should be listening for the Zarya calling her bubble cooldowns, right? Things like that. Like, so Ryan might hear her say, "Oh, no personal, stabilize," and so Ryan knows, okay, play slow, and so he's gonna take that information and then dictate it to the rest of the team, right? He might, if she calls, like no personal, he might say the Ryan. He might say stabilize, wait for bubble. He might say play slow, wait for bubble. He might say push forward, and then in that case, Zarya has to push forward, and she just has to play more passive. Things like that. So I wouldn't say that Zarya so much micromanages the Ryan as she gives him info and has to trust his judgment. Because that's what team play is about. Because if Zarya calls no projected, and then Ryan calls to push, and then he gets antied and slept, then later on in the VOD you say, oh, well, why'd you push without bubbles? And then that's when you can talk about it. And Ryan might say, oh, well, I did it because I saw, there's already used her bubble, and so I was trying to push on that. But then you just make those adjustments later on, right? It's always important to follow the calls in game and then talk about it later. Because I'd much rather have people lose because all 6 committed to a bad call than I would have people lose because 3 committed to the right call and 3 didn't because they weren't sure. Right? Because it's much easier to say, oh, well, you guys committed to this as a team when you shouldn't have, and here's why. As opposed to saying, well, you guys should have committed to this as a team, but you didn't. Like you had some people do it, some people didn't. One person, wouldn't be winning in the corner, something like that.
Right.
So it's always important to follow the calls, trust your team. Even if you don't agree with it, even if you don't think it's going to work, follow through with it, and you can talk about it later. But it's always important to follow the call, and then that way, if anything is going to go wrong, it's going to go wrong because of the call, not go wrong because of lack of teamwork. Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah, for sure. Now, something that we should be trying to look for here is because even though it's not an ideal comp, what you guys should be looking for is naturally is you want to be trying to pressure the front line. Well, you can't really pressure the front line, so then you want to try to put pressure on the DPS. Well, you can't really do that. So the last thing is going to be the supports, and you can majorly fuck up Ana. Sig can literally just throw a shield in her face, and then Monkey, all you have to do is wait for the Monkey to jump Ryan, and then use your Lucio to speed you and the Sig onto Monkey when he has no jump. Same thing with Genji with dash. So we can use Sig Barrier because it's mobile. Throw it up in front of Ana's face just every time, right? If the Ana's playing here, throw Sig Barrier here, right? So that way she has to decide to walk all the way through it or try to rotate around it. If she rotates around it, now she's here. Sig, throw the barrier up here, things like that. Because you're basically saying, hey, I'm going to make you spend your time running around as opposed to healing, or you can push past it, and then now we're close enough to you to speed onto you with our Lucio. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So even though it's not an ideal situation, you have to realize what you do and don't have control of. Work with what you got, type of thing. Like right now, just like that, right? Like the Monkey jumped, and so you just pushed onto him, right? And it totally ended up working. Right there, so Monkey jumped, and so you just go on him. Now there's a little bit of a disconnect between you and your team. But honestly, it's going to be really hard to run Sig with our healing lineup because it's a really low healing comp.
Yeah.
So it's going to be difficult, and so you're going to have to kind of play passive a lot of the time. But like I said, realize when you can and can't go. And like right there, the Monkey jumped on you, so you can just swing on him. Because that kind of comes down to, even though I would consider I would consider you guys to have a hybrid comp, not a good hybrid comp, but a hybrid comp nonetheless. And I would say that they have a dive comp, right?
Yeah.
They fully have a 6-man dive, and like we were talking about, you guys have it's mainly a spam, but this could run kind of like a brawl tank lineup as well, right? Like we were talking about earlier, brawl beats dive,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so your tank line actually beats their tank line. Your tank line does not beat their team. So you have to look for anytime they're isolated, and then you can collapse on that. So again, right here, what we should be looking at, where
is a speeding gauge. The Lucio is right by the ball.
No, I'm looking for our Sig. because I see they're on over there. So in my head, I'm like, okay, so we can, like you said, speed engage on ball, throw sig barrier up here, right? Because it cuts the support line to the ball, and now it's all of you guys against him. So even though it's not ideal, you have to work with what you have sometimes, because this might be something that you might run into in like a competitive match, right?
Mhm.
Even though I always try to coach in such a way that is relevant for like a scrim setting, because that's what you guys are here for. But just in general, work with what you got type of thing. So this would be kind of like how you would want to do it. Is you guys can't win a 6v6, so instead find out how to get number advantage and win those. If you have like a brawl tank line, then brawl them out, but know when you can brawl them and know when you can't, right? So like if there's like a Doom that's running away or a monkey that jumped away, you can't chase that, so don't try. But if monkey jumps in like this, that's your trigger point to go on him, because that's what him saying, hey, I can't run anymore. And so you just go like, okay, I'm gonna hit you with my hammer until you're dead.
Yep.
Is there any like specific questions or maps or anything that you guys wanted to go over?
That's probably more of a trouble question.
See, like the issue is like you can delve into our Ryan Zarya, and we need to refine it, of course. But at the current stage, like there's not much more to say because we're just having trouble with the compositions, So
I see.
Yeah, like we made. I made a call for us to swap to like some sort of Sombra play. But I mean, it is what it is.
like
what I could do
in this particular lobby, our Farah is gonna swap to be a support player, and George is a Genji one trick trying to play other things, and so like it's a really awkward situation to be in. We haven't settled on a support until we got Kame on the roll. So,
which is Dor, who's in here with us right now.
Yes.
Oh, okay, cool.
So like if you wanted to go to the third map here, we do play Ryan Zarya, but I think it's more beneficial for us to like learn the comps, learn what we can play, maybe specific map-based compositions and stuff like that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, actually, you know what I'll do? I'm sharing my screen right now, so I'll pull this up over here. I'll do images. I'm looking for something like this. Open image, new tab. I'm gonna zoom in a little bit for you guys. Go ahead and pick some maps out of here that you guys like. Don't worry about like both of them. Just whatever you see. Go and pick some that you like. One from each category.
Hollywood.
Hollywood. Okay, I gotta find Hollywood. Okay, I'll do white for right now. So Hollywood. That's one. Go and pick so don't worry about any of these other ones then.
Okay. One from each category.
Yeah.
What, Tate, are we trying to focus on our Ryan Zarya or just our tank play in general?
Tank play in general. If you guys want, if you want to focus on non-Ryan Zarya, some recommendations I might make would be like Hanamura. You could do Hanamura and run like a poke comp and learn poke. You could do Anubis dive, although honestly any 2CP is kind of hard for dive.
Yeah, that's
so I'm not too worried about 2CP. I hate 2CP. If you wanted to think about dive, you could look at Jib.
Jib would be a good one.
Okay.
Like I feel like for what is it, Route 66, we have a decent plan where we run dive on attack and Ryan Zarya on defense, because it's just the way
it just works.
Approach it in like a linear fashion can work.
Yeah, although sometimes like Ryan Zarya really struggles on defense, especially when like they have heroes that are on the high ground that are completely uncontested and you can't provide space.
Right.
Yeah.
Because
you've already
Widow
dropped.
or a Farah, it's really difficult for us. But
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I would. I'm gonna kind of pick one for you here,
Sure.
which is I'm gonna do Busan. And the reason I do that is because all 3 points of boost on are different, so you can literally run Zarya, Reinhog, and fucking, Monkey Diva, whatever it is, because all 3 points are so wildly different. So I'm gonna
Nepal too, but
with which one? Nepal? Yeah, a little bit. Busan, I feel like is just a little bit stronger, like leaning towards them. Whereas like Nepal, you could run the same comp on all 3, and then sometimes it'll be better, sometimes it'll be a little bit worse. But like on Temple, I think it is on Busan Temple, it's like that really open area. That one's really good with dive, and it's really good with spam, and it kind of feels sucky to play with Brawl because it's so open. Then there's like Downtown City Center, which is really good for Brawl because there's so many sharp angles.
Right.
And dive is not very good on that map because there's not that much high ground around the point. And then you look at like Mecha Base, which is really good for spam, or really good for Brawl, for dive. But because of kind of how Busan is laid out, we can play one comp on one comp on one comp on one, and so that'll be really kind of like the round out all 3 of them at the same time in one map.
Okay.
What do you guys want to do for 2CP? I fucking hate 2CP.
Roll the dice. Anubis.
Anubis? Okay.
Yeah, Anubis isn't as shit as.
Alright. I don't know why this is so big, but okay. So we've got Anubis, we've got Jib, Hollywood, and Busan. Okay. One of you guys going to write down those map picks real fast?
I got it.
Okay, cool. Dope. So what we'll do is we'll come out to here. I'm going to leave this, make a custom game, and we'll start on... What do you want to start on? What map?
Let's do Hollywood.
Hollywood? Okay. Hollywood. Right here. And move me over. This is a side thing, guys. If you're ever making a lobby, just so you know, just hit this button right here, and then you can move people around by clicking their name and clicking where they go, instead of dealing with all this shit where you're right-clicking and trying to move them around that way. It's so much easier.
I've
Like,
seen people struggle with it before.
Yeah, people are struggling. I'm like, guys, just hit the button that says move. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna draft up some comps for you guys, and again, we're gonna be building it around the tank line. So I'll have you guys pick what tank line you want, and then we'll draft a team around it. And then basically, when you guys get into your scrims, say, hey, let's just straight up tell them, be like, hey, we're running, for example, we're doing Monkey Diva, Genji Tracer, on a Lucio, whatever it is, right? But just say that, and then
And we just fucking stick to it.
Exactly, and you just stick to it. Exactly.
So I feel like my issue with Hollywood, and same with Eichenwald, is that we can play Ryan Zarya, but it doesn't work on second point, right? You got to get your ultimates out before really going second point to get the most value.
Well, so second point, you can run Brawl. It is hard, but you can do it. The biggest thing for running like a Brawl, like a Ryan Zarya on second, is you're always playing a disadvantage because you're typically reacting to the opponents. But there's all this undercover to play. So if they're sitting on top of like general store, then you play under here and you're just pushing cart, and then you speed rotate to here, and now you're playing here and you're pushing cart, and then you wait for them to drop, and then once they drop, then you engage. But that way you're not standing here shielding them because you're using your resources when you can't trade anything. It's a bad deal. So instead you sit here, now you're not using anything, they're dropping off, and now you're here with everything.
Yeah.
And then obviously, if they're in Saloon, then you kind of, you want to play over here, right? Because obviously, against Saloon is you're playing here, you're hugging wall. Now you're shielding, and now you're here, you're playing under them, and then you shield, and then you play under them again, things like that. So you have to play like kind of around the bush and try to get them to rotate onto you, which is hard. It's a doable, but hard. But whatever comp you guys want to draft up. Let's start there, but let's start with the tanks, right? So what do you guys want to do? Let's say you're attacking first, right? So
Ryan Zarya.
You want to do Ryan Zarya? Okay. Let me go and fill this in. I'll do it over here. Ryan Zarya. All right. So, do you guys have any ideas of what would be good with a Ryan Zarya, like attack point here?
Immediately off the bat, we definitely need a Lucio.
Yes, definitely. Anytime you have Brawl, you need a Lucio because you need him to help close that gap. So
if we just
doing
went back to
Lucio.
like pure brawl here,
Hmm?
I really like Reaper. We could run Reaper, Sombra, Lucio, maybe at this point it doesn't matter, maybe Ana, Moira, one of the two.
Probably a Moira.
Ana actually has some of the highest healing output in the game right now. The
Right.
only reason that Moira's
Oh.
played over the Ana is because of enemy divas. So you could
Okay.
say, come out the gate on Ana. If they have a diva, then we go back and swap Moira. So you could say that, right?
Okay.
And this could work. The only concern I have is if you guys wanted to do a real hard brawl, Sombra might want to be swapped out for something else. Because now you guys are thinking about the meta and you're like, oh, well, we have to put a Sombra in. And I would say yes, normally. But right now, I'm not too worried about the meta because if you guys get really, really, really good at running like Hanzo Mei, in like a brawl comp, you can run that easily up to like mid to high diamond to even like low masters.
Right.
If your coordination and your adaptability is like on point, right?
Okay.
So I'm not too worried about like forcing meta. If you guys don't want to, if you want to have the Sombra because you think that should be good, then by all means, have the Sombra. I just don't want you to feel like you have to do it just because it's like a meta pick.
So what would you recommend there then for DPS line specifically?
If you want the Reaper, so now you're looking at a super close range comp, right? Because like if you put Orion here, this is about his sphere of influence, which is basically just his hammer swing range, right? Reaper is, if this is a Reaper as opposed to Orion, it's a little bit further because his shotguns have a little bit further reach, right? You put Zarya down, Zarya is about where the Reaper is. It's super close range, right? So you guys' the thing that you have to be concerned about is how are you going to contest things from afar? And the only thing that you have for that would be a Sombra, but Sombra isn't really made for long range dueling either. So
what about like a soldier?
Yeah, so I would say like a soldier, a Hanzo, an Ashe, a Kree could be really good. You could also do a Mei because even though that keeps your comp close range, it helps close down the distance, right? Because you can Lucio speed this way, and then if they're sitting on top of Cafe, if this is what the enemy team is, Mei throws a wall up right here, and then you guys take point, and now you're able to close that gap that way. So now they're playing this close range game.
Right, or May could even like boost us up if there's somebody on high ground.
Yeah, that could be another thing, right? Is you throw a vertical wall this way, so you guys all walk this way, and then she boosts you up there, or things like that. So make it also work because she helps close that gap in a way. So I would say you can commit to having a super close quarters comp, and then find a way to make it happen, or have somebody who's good at like a medium range, like a soldier, Hanzo, or McCree would be like ideal picks. Ashe, the only concern I have with an Ashe is
Mercy.
Exactly, is you would want a Mercy because Hanzo or soldier, McCree can do what Ashe can do if she doesn't have the damage boost, and in this case we don't, so I wouldn't count her in. So those would be some other options as well. If you wanted the Sombra, you can have the Sombra. Because Sombra can combo with the Reaper, you could EMP Blossom, EMP Grab, you have lots of options. I just don't want you to feel locked into the Sombra. So, but you can keep that in mind, right? Or you could have Reaper Sombra, you could have Mei McCree, you could have Soldier. Who else do we say? Hanzo. You can have any combination of any of these. So this is where your flexibility comes in. All you're looking for is somebody who is able to brawl really well at close quarters. I probably wouldn't do Soldier Hanzo because they're too long range and that's more spam. But you get the point. So you have somebody who's like close quarters and somebody who's like medium to close, and then you'll be fine. If you for now, we'll roll with the Reaper Sombra, and then we'll just kind of go through like how this would play. Okay.
Okay.
So if we're coming out on attack, right? Obviously, the first thing that you guys are going to be looking for is you're going to be coming up here, and the very first thing that you need to be looking at is if they're holding
high ground.
If they're holding this high ground here. If they are, you can't just walk straight in. What you need to do, you have a few options. You need to force them off of high ground some way or another, right? So first, I'm going to ask, what do you guys think would be some options? How do you think you could go about this?
I mean, the best and most convenient way is they just take a lot of damage at the start and they have to drop on their own. Otherwise, we could just speed up left side and then
Yeah.
go through that like tunnel thing.
Like up through here.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that is one way that it could work, definitely. And again, this comes down to the main tank, which I want to say is clones, right?
Yeah.
So that's up to you, right? The second you pop around and you see that they're high ground, you'd say, okay, they're on high ground, stabilize, we speed top left. So you might tuck into here, right? So that way you're able to recharge your shield. This is the stabilize, and then you go, okay, speed top left, and then Lucio will call, okay, speeding 3, 2, 1 now, and you're amping speed through here, just so you can make that rotation. And then you're looking to use, Rhineberry, looking to use, Zarya bubbles, things like that, just to get up. And then right here, you want to play slow because, again, you want to just wait a second just to try and get some resources back.
Right.
And then that's when you're looking to explode out again.
Okay, here's another thought I have. You can send the Reaper up there with a bubble.
You could, but the only concern I have with that is now you're using a lot of resources and you're not going to get much out because Reaper's going to TP up here, and then he's immediately going to get blown up unless you bubble him.
Right.
And then the bubble's going to get blown up, and then he's going to have to wraith out. And now you don't have your bubble to actually enter.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. Sorry, what's up?
Sorry. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
No. What are you going to say?
Oh, I was saying, nade Reaper bubble with Sombra. And would that be like a pick potential of some kind?
Maybe.
Yes, and
You land everything.
If you land everything, it could work. The only concern I have is then you're throwing a lot of resources in, but you're not utilizing your tanks. Because if you're trying to do like something like that, and you're throwing a lot of resources that way, then I would say get like a diva at very least, and then you can send a diva in too, because then diva can DM the Reaper, right? And then that way you have just another body up there. Or if you're running a diva, then you might as well do monkey diva, right? And that way you've got both tanks up there as well. Or the other thing too is if they're not sending their whole team up here, right? If it's just an Ashe, right, or just a soldier, or just a Hanzo, or like 1 or 2 people, then yeah, absolutely, just have a Reaper like TP up, right? Send the Reaper up, and then you can bubble him, and it forces off high ground, right? But if they have like a whole team, right? I'm talking like a full spam comp, right? They have they're sitting up here. They have like Orisa Sig, Hanzo Soldier, right? Like they're like full spam. They're gonna blow you up, the second you get up here. And so yeah, speeding top left is one option. Another option is you can speed straight and go here, and you stabilize in this back area, and then you wrap around to point this way.
Just pressuring. I don't know this call out, but like, is it like
this area here?
Recording room, maybe? Do you know what I'm saying? So down to your
right. Are you talking about here?
Behind it. The other.
This area?
Yeah, what is this room like?
I call it security.
Security. So we could just speed through there and pressure point if they're running like a spam comp all on the high ground. Looking at choke, I feel like pressuring point is probably the best way to dismantle that.
Yeah, no, definitely. And so that's actually like in my head, and this is why I asked for your guys' input too, is because I want to see where you guys are thinking. In my head, my thought was, okay, you go here, then you actually speed down through here, and then you wrap around, and then you want to take top of cafe, and then just drop down onto point. And the reason you take top of cafe is because if you have the Ana, then Ana's posted on high ground. If you have a McCree, Soldier, Hanzo, they're on high ground. And if the enemy team, while you're making this rotation, if they try to take top of cafe, you guys are all coming up there. But yeah, so you guys just come in, you take top of cafe, and then you drop down onto point. Right?
Because going around takes less spam damage too than
exactly. Yeah, and it gives you all of this time to stabilize. Like if Ryan shields everybody in, Zarya uses her bubbles, they get in. Now they're shield recharging, bubbles recharging, and then they have it for the fight again. Exactly. Yeah, so those are all the ways that you would go about looking to break this, and those are things that again it falls onto clones, the main thing, to be calling out your pathing, right? So you might say, okay, we're speeding top left. All right, we speed to bottom left mega. Go all the way around. Wrap around.
Okay.
Also, just for like general callouts, it's up to you. Whatever you guys want to agree on as a team. But I've always called this one juice because the juice. And that's what my team calls it. So juice, there's cafe. Then like some general callouts are like closet, which is any like small area that typically only has 1 or 2 entrances. So like this area right here might be like left mega closet. Then obviously like places that have names, just use the name. Jail. People say top of bank. Yeah, top of bank, top of saloon. Yeah, exactly. So things that have names, then use the names. Things that don't, then just find something that's like markable about it. Cafe, juice, security, things like that.
Yeah.
And because callouts are very important. Yeah, callouts are definitely very important, so that way your team knows what you're talking about. Because that way you can say, like they're holding top of juice, and you like if you're the main tank here, you call out top of juice. The rest of your team knows it automatically, kind of where they're at, what they're going to be doing, and they should know kind of the same thing, right? So if you go, hey, the top of juice, let's stabilize, speed top left, and push them off, or okay, we speed back left mega, or okay, let's wrap through security and go top of cafe, things like that.
Right.
So yeah, that's what I say. So first things first is we need to make sure that we have this high ground, right? After that, then we want to look to pressure point, and we always want to try and make sure this is free if we have anybody who can use it.
Yeah.
If we don't have anybody who can use it, but the enemies can, then we also want to make sure that they don't have access to it. Exactly. If they're running a spam and they're trying to hold top of cafe, then play under and around them. So you're kind of just touching toes on point, right? If you guys don't have any way of fighting them, if you can't fight them with equal or fair trades, then don't fight them. You're always looking to have an advantage in a fight, and the last thing you want to look for is an equal trade, right? So like a Reinzar v Reinzar, right? That's a mirror comp. That's like an equal trade. That's like the bottom of what you want, right? If you're running Reinzar into a spam comp, then you're playing at disadvantage. You want to avoid disadvantage. If you're playing Reinzar into a dive comp, then you have advantage. That's the ideal one, right? No, that's just off the general comp. So if you're playing at disadvantage, it's going to be very hard, but you have to think about, okay, how to play, right? That's when you have to play smart. But, it's definitely doable. So, yeah, so, we push in, we take high ground from them, right? We pressure point, we're looking to fight on point. And again, with Brawl, it's all about cooldown management, right? You're looking for bubbles, You're looking for shields, things like that. Ryan, basically, the majority of the time that you should be looking to swing is when you have your armor. When you lose your armor, you're looking to shield up or play cover and let your supports heal you up. Because armor, as you know, it fractions. It's the damage reduction, but it doesn't take any healing reduction to heal it back up. If I do 10 damage to you, armor makes it to where I take 5. The healers only have to heal 5 damage. Right, so it heals up quicker than it can take the damage. So basically, as long as you have your armor, feel free to DPS all day long. The second you lose your armor, that's when you're looking to play behind cover. You're using your barrier. You're letting your supports top you up again, right? Now, obviously, if you're at half health and they just have like a sim turret on point, don't just hold your shield into it. Obviously that's going to come down to just what makes sense at the time. But in general, look to be shielding your team. But make sure that you're actually shielding your team. If you're holding your barrier up for nothing, then don't hold your barrier up. Play cover.
Yeah.
Because your barrier has a health pool, but a wall does not. So you always want to play a corner, and that's why Ryan corner play is so important. Because you're playing a corner, that is your barrier, and then you're able to damage around it. Using your hammer. So it's a way of protecting yourself and dealing damage at the same time, and that's why it's so powerful. And so, if you're running like Sombra and Reaper, you're not going to really be shielding either of them, because Reaper is going to be taking an off angle from you, right? So if Ryan, you're holding here, your Reaper might be over here, and your Sombra is going to be back here. So you're not really shielding them. If you have a Moira is going to be playing natural cover. So you don't need to be holding your barrier at this corner, right?
All right, I can just swing.
Exactly, you can just swing. Now, your Zarya is going to walk in front of you and use her bubble. And then she's going to back up, and then you're going to walk in, and then she's going to bubble you. And then after those bubbles go off, that's when you're looking to shield your Zarya, because she doesn't have anything to keep her alive. But obviously, if your Zarya is playing, behind cover, then you don't need to. So that's when you can be looking to swing. So only be shielding if there's something worth shielding.
Mm-hmm.
because something that I love all the time, I'll be a Reaper player and I'll be shooting at a Rhine and I'm just walking towards him and he holds a barrier up, so I just jump and shoot past his barrier into his fucking head, and then he's still just holding a shield up, and then I jump and shoot him again, and then he dies because he's just holding a shield up, when really the defensive play for that Rhine is to play at a corner, not in the open, and then swing his hammer because it puts pressure on the Reaper. So we're running that comp. We capped first, right? Now we're looking to push into second, right? What comp do you guys expect to be running against here on second? We have the Ryan Zarya.
Usually some sort of Widow comp.
Yeah, I don't
Double
know how
sniper.
you would classify it in terms of like spam, I guess.
I would consider double snipers spam because they just want as much space as possible.
Exactly right. Yeah, so like a double sniper comp is like, it's a spam poke comp, right? You're looking to create space. You're wearing down the enemy before they can get to you. Yeah, exactly. So
I feel like I see a lot of Winston on second point from defense.
Yeah, definitely. So you see like a Widow here, you'll see like a Hanzo here, and then the tanks, the Monkey Diva are also top of general, right?
Okay.
So one thing that you can do is you can just swap comp. I'm not going to worry about that right now. I'm going to say, kind of what we're talking about, working with what you have.
Mm-hmm.
So if they have total high ground control and we don't really have anything that can take it from them, right? And the only reason I said we can't really take it from them is because, if we go high ground here, right, we elevator up, there's this long ass bridge, and then there's the other side. By the time we take, this one here, then they're going to back up to here. By the time we take this one here, then they're going to be back over to the first, or we're going to die on the way.
Yeah, you have to use how many resources.
They can just kite us.
Exactly, right? Because, like, if you're fighting, like, a Monkey Diva here, right, Monkey Diva, even if you win this Monkey Diva duel, there's still the Hanzo here, and there's a Widow across that are putting in so much damage, right? And so you'd have to put your Reaper here, put your Sombra back there on the Widow, and then, hope together you guys are better mechanically than them.
Right. So at this point, it'd be better just to play under the natural covers, like you play under General Store, then you switch over to the other gazebo, and then you go into Saloon.
Yeah, exactly. Here, all you want to do is play under them because you're able to push cart from under these awnings, right? So you push the cart and then you wait for them to drop onto you, right? Because at some point you are going to take crossfire from either Saloon or General. And so at that point, that's when you're looking to use your barrier, right? If they just have a Widow on Saloon, but they have the Hanzo Monkey Diva on General, then you use natural cover from the majority, and then use your resources for the minority, right? So you're looking to use, Ryan shields here, and you're rotating the team around, and then your team can be playing, in here with you, right? Things like that. So you're just playing under them because at some point the tanks are going to drop down to you to contest. And at that point, then you DPS them because you win that tank matchup. Right, and you have your Reaper and things like that because the Hanzo isn't going to want to drop down, right? If you're a Hanzo player, you're playing here on high ground, right? If you drop down and now there's a Ryan Zarya right in your face, it's not a good time, right? So more than likely, what's going to happen is this Hanzo's going to rotate here with the Widow, so now they're both playing the same angle. And then, like I said, you guys with Ryan Zarya Reaper against Monkey Diva, you guys are going to win that duel, and now they've lost this high ground by your positioning, and now you just hug this store because this is where the majority is, and so you just make that adaptation. So if you're running that Ryan's are exactly like you said, you play the natural cover and then force them to contest point, right? Make them play attack.
I mean, if the monkey is stupid, he'll jump onto the point. Otherwise, he'll just walk onto it.
Yeah, exactly. If he's dumb, he'll jump on and then he dies. If he's smart, then he'll walk off and then he'll jump away. But now he can't come back because he doesn't have his jump. And so you're going to be doing that for the majority of the point, right? Is just playing this natural cover. And so that's kind of how you're going to be doing that. And I'm not going to go super into it because right now we're just drafting, right? This is all like idea stuff. And the reason I had you guys pick out all these maps is because these are the maps I want to see you guys run on your next scrim. So when we do our next VOD review, we can talk about the execution, or if they beat it, how we can avoid that happening, or we can talk about the success and be like, yeah, this was perfect, this is exactly what you guys needed to do and you executed it perfectly, and things like that. So it'll give much better VOD review material because it's organized, it was pre-planned, and we can talk about it, something that it's like you guys thought about it before doing it type of thing.
Right. and usually Trouble and I do swap to a Monkey Diva at the second point because it's just such a stronger composition and it requires a lot less like micromanaging to get everything
It's
done.
really like by the time you
Yeah.
get near jail, if you're still on Ryan Zarya, you gotta use
It's
ults
very
to
hard.
swap.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is very hard on this last little stretch here.
Right.
The best thing you can do is
You
kind of like
play
you said,
Saloon, but
Yeah, you can play under Saloon, and that's typically what people do. But then there's this stretch right here, and that's when you basically look to use your ults
It's
because
fucking brutal.
it is. But the thing is, if you play it right, you're not really needing ults through the majority of Streets phase because you're playing cover and you're not able to use your ults. Right, you can't use your Rhine Shatter,
right.
and so you're basically just sitting there with it until you get to this point, and now you have Shatter, you have Grab, you have EMP, you have Blossom, you have everything, and you team wipe them. Right.
Okay.
So that's kind of like the idea. At least that's like in that situation, that's what you're looking for because you don't really need to be shattering them, before then. If they're all playing high ground, and if they commit to you on low ground, then you use it, obviously, But then that's kind of how you get past it, right? Because typically there's going to be 3 fights. There's going to be 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah.
And if you force the monkey out here and now you're pushing cart, now it's going to be here, right? And now they're looking to rotate to Saloon, right? You force them out here, and so they have to take their last stand here, and that's when you commit your ults.
Okay.
Yeah. And plus, like I said, like if we follow through with this and you guys play and you do the Rhymes Aria and then you get rolled by a Monkey Diva, then we can talk about it and say, okay, based on how they played it, this is what you guys could have done, or simply like, yeah, I know this is just when you swap comps because they played it properly,
Right.
Something like that, right? But that way, I'm trying to just get you guys started with like a baseline, and then we can build up from there, as opposed to
Fair enough.
Yeah, because it's much easier to make modifications to an existing plan than it is to create a plan, especially with kind of what you guys have been doing of trying to draft a comp for the map while you're in the map, waiting for it to start, and then like what you guys saw, and it just gets all hectic, and you end up with weird mix match things, and you don't have a proper plan, right?
And
Here
it's
you
beyond
have
that
you have
because,
an
like, we don't even know what DPS player we're gonna get. We don't even know what tanks we're gonna get for that map,
Yeah.
and then we're in that map, and it's just
exactly.
it's
And if you guys
like competitive.
Yeah, exactly. And if you have a plan going into it, and you load in and you say, okay, can we get Reaper Sombra, and then both your DPS say, I don't play Reaper or Sombra, well, then maybe you don't take those DPS.
Yeah.
All right, they might be hot shit at Doomfist, but if all they play is Doom, then they're not going to really make it in a scrim environment, because at some point Doom is going to get shit on by the meta, and if that's all he plays, then you guys are fucking yourself over by taking like a Doom one trick. Because a good team is going to go, oh, they have a Doom, let's just go Sombra Kree, and then you lose.
Fuck
and
Doom.
Yeah, right. And so third point, we're kind of looking to do the same thing. Third point is going to be pretty good for Renzari. It's very natural, like corner play, right? You go, corner right here, corner here, and then you push up to the gates. The hardest part is this last leg right here, because it's this huge open alley. You guys need to look to play in all of these pockets here, right? So you look to play here, right? Then cart pushes up, then you play across, cart pushes up, then you play across, cart pushes up, and then that's when you're looking to use ults, right? But those are kind of the things that you need to look for. And then honestly, if you guys are having your Sombra is going to be the one who's controlling this high ground here. On Streets phase, your Sombra is going to be looking to pester, not commit, but pester on high ground. So if they have the Widow here, the Hanzo Monkey Diva there, Widow's here, Sombra shoots at the Widow, forces her to turn. Now you don't have to worry about her in this rotation.
Right.
Yeah.
So she's looking for things like that, right? Or if the Monkey Diva commits on ults with you guys, then Sombra EMPs them on low ground, and now they can't run away. Things like that. What's up?
But we would be hoping to try and save that EMP so that we would actually have that team wipe later on. Probably just commit something low value like a shatter or.
Well, so that's whatever. Actually is normally is I would say yes, you're right. As you would want to save the EMP for the end, but Summer builds EMP really fast, and if this is first fight here and the enemy is committing ults, then you use EMP and then you win this fight. And then there is no second fight over here,
Right. Okay.
And then-
Okay. I see that.
Yeah, and then you have ult advantage for third.
Right, because they can't disengage
Exactly.
for a second fight. Okay.
Exactly,
Cool.
exactly. So that's why you would commit EMP there. But that's more like a DPS thing. And I'm trying to keep
Right.
it more focused on the tank line. But yeah,
I appreciate that.
yeah, for sure. I'm trying to keep it like relevant. But obviously, as you guys are, the tank line, the team is going to be revolving around you. So it's important for you guys to know, what to expect from your team as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so like I said, third point, you're just looking to do corner play and pocket play and push the point up. And then once you get it up to this area here, that's when you kind of just have to sit on it and like with second, use your ults to get a good wipe in and push it all the way.
Yeah.
Any questions about attack?
No.
If we were to swap comps for second point,
Mhm.
what would you recommend?
Well, that's actually the
Monkey
glorious
Diva.
thing. Yeah, that's the glorious thing about the meta is that you can very easily just swap from Ren Zarya to Monkey Diva, and the rest of the comp would stay the same.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and at that point, that's when you do look to control high ground because you're able to, right? As you send your Sombra again up to Saloon, and then you send your Monkey Diva Reaper up to this high ground, and then you guys are able to tag team between the two very easily. You're able to take that high ground control because you can contest it. Ryan Zarya is too slow and not enough resource to funnel into that, so that's why they avoid it. Monkey Diva can contest it, so they do.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
So if we play Winston Diva for second point, you keep the Lucio?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, you keep Lucio definitely. Because Lucio is he's gonna be he's gonna be one of the biggest things that's pushing cart. B, he can play a lot with the Diva. Because Lucio's main job is actually gonna be playing with Diva to move around for peels and playing with the Reaper to speed him into the enemy team. Because Reaper is super slow in that comp. So Lucio needs to be with the Reaper to move him around to keep up with the tanks.
Okay, that makes sense.
For sure. Dor, did you have any questions?
Oh, I'm good.
Okay. Yeah, for sure. Now for defense, for this point, if you guys are running Ryan Diva, right, the same comp, right? We're just gonna run with the same comp just for now.
Just like the Ryan Zarya that we were
yeah,
talking about before.
yeah,
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. The Rens are Reaper Sombra, Lucio, Moira, or Ana. You guys don't need this high ground. You're not gonna do anything with it, right? So there's no point. Instead, I'd much rather see you guys hold close, right? Hold these gates right here, right? If you put like Ryan, Zarya, put the like Sombra, Reaper, right? Put the Lucio on either which side. Which side do you want him on? We'll put Lucio over here. Actually, scratch that. I'll put Lucio with the.
I would put
Zarya,
Lucio with the Zarya because
yeah,
otherwise.
you can move her. Yeah, exactly. Good thinking. And then put Moira here, or if we have the Ana, put the Ana like over in cafe area, right?
Right, but just don't play out of her LOS.
Exactly, just don't play out of her LOS. Actually, she could honestly play like here and be fine.
Right.
Because that way she has like this whole alley.
Yeah, I've noticed like one thing that supports do, which is really bad, is they play in that little cubby.
Like here.
Right No, a little bit further up, right next to security.
Oh, this area.
Yeah, they play in
no,
there.
it's such a bad spot because the enemy team they just go like this into her.
Yeah, and then they're just dead.
Yeah. So the whole idea of this, either Ana or Moira, for now, let's just say Moira, so we don't have to worry about the Ana. Basically, Ryan and Zarya are looking to control this main choke. Sombra is looking for any, off-angle hacks. Reaper is also able to look for off-angle damage, but he's also going to be controlling security room.
Right, and if we have everybody playing so close to the choke, even if they run like a Widow or something, that Widow's not going to be able to get much value going through security.
Exactly. Because Reaper's not looking to push through security; he's just looking to deny it from the enemies.
Okay.
Right. That's really what he's looking for. Because if the enemies try to hard commit to security, if they try to go 6, then Lucio boosts the Zarya and Sombra over, and then Ryan and Reaper are able to definitely hold this door. Right. Ryan can block the entirety of that door, and then Reaper just ass blast into it.
Right.
things like that. And then with a Zarya that bubbled the Rhine, so they're not going to be able to push through security, and they're going to have a hell of a time pushing through choke.
Yeah.
The only thing they're going to be able to do is they're going to try to brawl you and win the brawl. The only way you lose this brawl is if you overcommit and you push through the choke yourself. You're just looking to hold almost like this line, right? And that's what you're looking for, is you just have tons of crossfire in. So like this is kind of your fight zone. But you don't want to push past it. So this is all like no territory. And if you guys just kind of hold this choke area and you have your Reaper control any like potential flanks, then you guys will be fine. Because you're going to win these brawls. They're not going to be able to spam you out because you have natural cover. The only thing they're going to be able to do is run dive, and they're going to have to use all of their mobility to take juice, because they have to dive past you to juice. And then you guys use that time to rotate, and then you play like right around here. Because then the thing is they're going to have to drop down to point, and then you're able to touch toes on point, because you can also play in here. And then your Sombra player is able to play through Cafe for a side angle. So Sombra over here, the rest of your team over here. You guys are easily able to contest point, and they have to use their cooldowns to close the distance to you, because they can't just ignore you because you're just sitting on point getting free damage in. And so they have to contest you, and so they're going to walk in and then jump away, or they're going to jump in and die. So that's kind of how you would look to hold first.
Okay.
So you guys will full hold every time, so we don't even need to do the rest of the map. Nah, I'm kidding.
Ideally, yeah.
But I mean, ideally, yeah, and honestly, that's what you see all the time. But sometimes they get like a fat 6-man EMP bomb, whatever. Shit happens and you lose it. But that's like the ideal way of playing first, right? Is you want to do like natural corner play. If they're not running the dive comp and they're not taking juice, and you guys are just low on resource and you need to back out for whatever reason, right? Say they just grabbed you and you used beat, so you're looking to back out, then obviously you back up and you hold this corner, right? So this would be like the natural corner, because then you send your Sombra or your Reaper or both up to this high ground, and then they can ask what's up. Exactly. I figured you guys would know that, but just wanted to run through it just to make sure.
Yeah.
Second point, defense.
If we're playing Ranzari, we hold first corner.
The first corner being here.
Yeah.
The only concern I have with that,
there's not much retreat.
There's not much of retreat, because you're retreating into an open space and it's easy to wrap around.
Okay, so probably play behind hay bale.
Yeah, so I would probably say like holding, yeah, exactly like you said, holding like this area is good. Another option is you all hide on top of general. Is you hide here, you don't peek, you don't poke. When the cart gets to here, then you just drop on them.
Ooh, that's true, because we don't have RNGesus to thank for the fucking elevator anymore.
Yeah, because elevators are actually good now. Exactly. And it works out well, because if you guys get good spawn, you come out from here, you take elevator up, and you just sit up here. Right?
And then the monkey jumps in, and he's just like,
Monkey jumps up, and then obviously you guys are going to ass blast him. He's going to drop back down, and then you guys follow him down. Now he doesn't have his jump, and he's low, right? Or if they try to wrap around this way, then you guys are also able to drop that way.
Okay.
So I would say stacking up here at 6, and then you can drop down on them for the rotation. That would be first fight. And you can do that as long as the cart is in this area, because they're going to have to get you off, right?
Yeah.
Or they're just going to sit and push cart, and then you drop onto them. Things like that. Now, once the cart gets past general store, you can't really do the same thing with saloon, because then they're able to take general and crossfire you. But that's when you can look to play saloon. You can look to play this corner, or you can look to play over here. I wouldn't recommend this, because it's too easy to get cut off, right? Because if they wrap around you this way, then they can long range it. So I would say playing around or inside of saloon would be like the ideal play, right? So you can look to play like kind of have like your Rhine here, have your Zarya over here. Reaper can look to try to play across, because he can wraith away. Things like that. Reaper plays here, right? You put your Sombra kind of behind them, so Sombra can play like over here, right? Things like that.
Okay.
So that's how I'd recommend it for like after you lose bank. So like for this portion is kind of when you'd be playing like Saloon like that, and then once you get to third here, it's gonna be really hard. But that's when you just kind of you look to play corners, right? You need to have
Right.
control of Saloon because you can't have them wrap around you this way. So you need control of that. But Sombra can deal with that, right? You put your Reaper over by jail, put your Ryan Zarya, here,
Mega control on third point.
Are you talking about? Can I go through the walls? No. Are you talking about this mega here?
Sorry, I meant for the end of second point. So on
Oh,
the
that one there.
Spawn.
Yes and no. Sombra will have that hacked, and that's probably where her translocator will be around. But that's because Sombras are going to be controlling Saloon for like third part of second point. She's going to be controlling Saloon, so she's going to have that mega hacked, and then you guys are just focused on main. Because basically she's going to be controlling this alley here, and then if this is clear, she's going to be taking top of Saloon. She's going to be taking this bridge piece. She's going to come from behind, things like that. But like her whole rotation is like around like this. So that'll be up to her. So you guys just focus on the front.
Okay.
Yeah. Going to third point though, you did talk about holding this mega, which is very good to hold. Right, and so something that I see a lot of the time is I actually see Zarya's here. Actually, I'll back it up to here like this. I see Zarya's hold like here, this pillar. Then Ryan's hold close, Reaper's hold here, and then Sombra kind of again floats around because she's going to keep that hacked, and that way your Moira is kind of free to play, and your Lucio is free to play, right?
Okay, so as Ryan, I would just be shielding the Moira and the Lucio, so I wouldn't even need to shield as much.
Exactly. You're not looking to shield as much. You're just looking to exist a little bit.
Okay.
Right. Because basically, what this whole thing is Zarya's going to be throwing in right clicks, and then you're kind of just using your shield to just kind of look around the corner, but you're really just holding this corner so they can't push on the Zarya. And, when you are shielding, it's because Zarya is making a micro rotation this way for beams, and so you're shielding her.
Okay.
Or, if somebody's coming from here, then you can shield and walk forward this way to help your Reaper out by cutting resources. But exactly like you said, you're just with the Lucio and Moira who are playing a lot of natural cover, so you're not going to be shielding that much.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. So that's the idea for like just the starting point here, right? And then after that, it kind of comes back down to this very stereotypical corner play. Put the Ryan here, keep your Zarya, kind of by the Mega so she controls this area here, right? Put your Reaper here because he can Wraith away. If Reaper's wraithing towards you, Ryan, please don't back up. It always sucks seeing like if I'm playing Reaper and then I'm coming towards my team and the Ryan shield is backing away from me. I'm like, no, come back.
You're right. I pull a full 180 and I charge.
Yeah, exactly. Just charge away. Fuck him. He's dead. No, but Reaper's gonna be playing this off angle here because he's stopping this angle and he's setting up crossfire this way.
Right. So try to stay up a bit.
Exactly. You want to stay up because the whole thing is when Reaper gets forced out, you're here to shield him out, and the Zarya is stopping you from getting fucked on from behind. And then once this Reaper is out, that's when you're calling to fall back, so your Zarya is falling back too.
Okay.
Yeah, and because of that, your Moira can play over here and your Lucio can play over here. Your Lucio doesn't want to play in Reaper because he can just Wraith away, whereas Lucio would have to walk and he could die. But instead, Lucio, while you shield halfway across this alleyway, Lucio can peek out to pick up that Reaper to get him out, and then you're speeding the whole team back.
Okay.
Yeah, so you're just looking for kind of natural corner play here, and then once you get to this point here, you play exactly like you do first. All right, put the Ryan Reaper, Zarya, Sombra, Lucio, Moira here. It's the same shit as first. The only difference is this extra door, but besides that, it's the same shit, right?
Yeah.
Keep it easy. Keep it simple. Any questions?
Go ahead, Dor.
Thanks. I was just wondering about comp. If they say they're running Brawl as well,
Okay.
is it more advantageous to have an Ana for the anti-nade?
Yeah, 100%. Listen, Ana is better than Moira is. Moira is only played if they have like a diva. But yeah, like Brawl v Brawl, Ana is ridiculously good because she has antis for Ryan, which forces out Zarya bubble. She has sleeps. and Zarya only has one bubble, right, or like projected, right? If you're an Ana and you nade the enemy Rein, he's gonna get bubbled, and then he goes to Fire Strike and you sleep him. Zarya has no bubble for him. Things like that. So yeah, Ana is very good in a brawl v brawl. Definitely.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. Trouble, you had a question?
Yeah, if we are on second point, what is the
Mhm.
what is the difference for having Winston Diva up top on defense versus Ryan Zarya up top of general store?
The difference is that Monkey Diva are gonna play a lot more kind of kitey because they're gonna be dropping. Like if you're looking to drop down, you drop down to kind of tickle and distract. But
Right,
you're
yeah,
dropping down. Oh,
yeah,
what's up?
I would put like if we're dropping down and we're playing Monkey Diva on second defense, I would drop the Diva to point because the Diva can get out and she can DM herself, and you would probably put the Monkey like up top on the high ground on the gazebo so that
Yeah.
he can Tesla down, because otherwise the Monkey just gets fucked on.
Yeah, exactly. And also, Monkey drops this bubble right here, and it gives
Yeah.
Diva like partial cover.
Yeah.
Because it gives partial cover, and so she's contesting point. Meanwhile, your Sombra and Reaper are looking to pressure the backline, right? Because the Reaper can drop down, right, and do some damage, fade away over to here, and then just like TP up top or take elevator. Now the elevators
Take
aren't.
speedy elevator.
Yeah, speedy elevator, dude. It's so good. But yeah, so things like that. So the tanks are actually not looking to hard commit. They're looking to be a distraction for the DPS to do stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
But for Ryan Zarya, we would be hard committing.
Yes, Renzor,
Okay.
it is a hard commit. Exactly.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. Anything else? Are you guys good on that?
Yeah.
I think we're good.
For this composition,
Mhm.
what is the ideal ult combos for this?
Ideal ult combos. If you have, let me try this out.
I'm
What?
thinking
We have
Ryan Zarya,
Ryan, Zarya, Reaper, Sombra,
and
Lucio, Moira.
Moira. Or
You
Ana.
come, yeah, or Ana. I'll do or Ana. If you have an Ana, you're looking to Nano Ryan or Nano Zarya. You could Nano Blossom unless they have a Diva, then you don't want to.
Right.
But you're looking to combo one or other DPS ult with one or other tank ult. So you can Shatter Blossom, you can EMP grab, you can Shatter grab, you can Shatter EMP, you can grab Blossom. So you're looking to combo one DPS with one tank, and you can do either which one, right? The only one that you have to be careful about is Shatter EMP. Is obviously is you're doing EMP first, and then you're using that for the shatter because you're getting rid of barriers.
Yeah.
Or if you get a big shatter, once they stand back up, or if they use a defensive ult, then you follow with EMP. So if you shatter, 3 people and then their Lucio beats, then you follow that with EMP. And so that win condition isn't so clear set because that win condition is getting ults out of them. And that's typically, like, if you're doing Shatter EMP, then you're looking to throw in a support ult too. So like a Moira Cole or Ana Nano. Lucio beat you want to kind of save for like a defensive purpose. But yeah.
So in this composition, I understand the point of the Lucio beat, but it's really the Nano that confuses me because like ideally we win fights with 2 ults. I'm not sure when
Yes.
to expend the Nano.
You'd probably use the Nano on Ryan if he wants to swing into Grav.
Yeah, so typically you
Or
want to
just take a
expend
fight.
Yeah, typically you want to expend like 2 ults to win a fight. Nano, it can be used to win a contested fight or to save a losable fight. So one of the comms roles is, like calling if a fight is won, lost, winnable, asking for a further commit, things like that. That's where Nano comes in. Because like if they use, like, say they use EMP, but then they're slow to react to it, and so we're kind of like we're on the verge of backing out, and somebody calls like, no, it's winnable, then we can say, okay, use Nano here, let's use Nano, and then we can drop exactly something like that. So if we call winnable or commit, then that's when we look to use Nano. So Nano is kind of like it's a big band-aid almost.
Yes, to cover up the big boo-boos.
Yeah, exactly. Because like you're not needing to combo nano with anything. You're using it to cover up for something, basically.
Right.
Or we say
Is it-
fuck Lucio and we put a Zen and we nano Zen into the back line.
So
Yeah,
would
no, you have to
say
nano him during trance.
Nano is just like a second nade in that
Yeah,
case.
kind of, because like it can be used to save a tank, right? If your Zarya has like no bubbles and the enemy team is like diving on her, then you can, and she's like high charge, and just fucking nano her and watch her eat fucking everybody. What's up?
I was thinking, so if we have like a Reaper or Sombra hard flank, I can nano them for them to get quicker ult charge and survive through, maybe
Yeah.
get a pick. Is that
Yeah, exactly. So like, if we're coming up to last fight and we have Grav and Jesus Christ, we have Grav and we're like 70% to EMP or Blossom, then we start the fight out with like with a nano on Reaper or Sombra, whoever's like close to ult, right? So we start off with that nano to build the ult, and then we use those ults, right?
Wait, is
So
that only applicable for the last fight?
No, not necessarily.
Oh.
I just use last fight as an example because if we were 70% to EMP but we had Blossom, then we'd just use Blossom, right? But if we're like 40% to EMP and 70% to Blossom in the middle of the match, then we can nano Reaper to build Blossom to then use with Grav. So things like that. So yeah, exactly. As you are able to use nano kind of more expendably, because in certain comps it's you need to use it at the right time on the right person. In this situation, you kind of use nano to speed up processes or use it to patch up weak spots. So it's much more like versatile in that sense.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Nano's kind of a weird one there. Like I feel like
Yeah.
Cole makes a lot more sense in this composition.
Yeah. You can definitely use Cole as well, because Cole you can use like an aggressive or a defensive ult. You can use it to help stabilize things like that.
You can also use it to initiate.
Yeah, exactly. Cole has a bunch of uses. Nano does too. It just depends on what you guys want from it, really.
Right.
And that's all stuff like I said that we can always go over in like VOD reviews. But what I would say, because I know it's already kind of been a while, and I don't want to overload you guys. I don't want to take up too much time.
Yeah, fair enough.
But we did go through Hollywood, so I would say if you guys want, with those other maps that we kind of picked out, go ahead and kind of draft up some comps like between yourselves, and then next time you guys go into a scrim, pick the maps, load out those comps because you already know the comps. You guys can do kind of simple map walkthroughs like we just did here. Just create a general idea and run through it, and that way your next scrim, I'm expecting to see those maps and expecting to see what you guys have come up with, and then we can always modify them or change things or see how they worked in game, and then go off of that.
So are you still able to play with us tomorrow?
Yeah, at 8, right?
Yep. So what's interesting is we currently have everyone in this Discord channel except for George.
Are we running with George?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think he'll probably play Reaper based on his hero pool, if you don't mind playing Sombra Orthus.
No, I mean that's what I play in my scrim, so I'm very used to it.
Then I think like ideally we'll get a Hollywood map pick and try to run this style and hope we can really
for
start
sure.
working on like synergies and stuff.
Normally in scrims you pick every other map. If the enemy team says just to roll maps, then you get to pick all the ones you want. So if it comes up to like a 2 CP and it's our pick, then we're obviously going to be picking which map?
Busan.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, no.
Well, 2 CP. Sorry. Yeah, there you go. Anubis. Yeah. But yeah, exactly. Anytime it's our map pick, we're going to be picking the ones that we've already selected.
Right.
And that way we can be drafting up those comps and work with that.
Right.
And since I'm going to be playing with you guys tomorrow, if you guys come to scrim with a comp for me to play, awesome. If you don't have anything, then just let me know and I can put one together.
Okay.
And I'll do like a very quick rundown as to kind of how to play it. But it obviously won't be as in depth as this.
Right. I think I would really like to focus on meta, and so
Okay.
I think it would be ideal if we could just run Reaper Sombra and then obviously Ryan Zarya or Estiva, depending, and
Yeah.
then Ana Moira, depending, and then just
Yeah.
Cam Lucio. So,
Yeah. If you guys really want to learn meta, then that's actually awesome. I love that. Because there's so many teams that they're just like, oh, we don't want to run meta, we don't want to do it. I'm like, all right, well, I can't make you, but it's meta for a reason, type of thing.
So it was Hollywood, Anubis, Gibraltar, and then what was our other one?
Busan. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I like the idea of learning meta. At the same time, yeah, for Anubis in particular, because we do have a very strong Genji one trick, we would probably want to draft some sort of like 6-man dive.
Yeah,
just swap the Tracer out for a Genji in that case.
Yeah.
But no, definitely, and like I definitely think even if like people don't enjoy running meta, some people like it, some people don't.
Yeah.
I always start off hating it, but then I learn to enjoy it once I learn how it works.
Like double shields.
All right, listen, I was a DPS player in double shields. You want to know what my job was? Shoot shield. My job
was cock and ball torture. You're on course for the rest of your life. Welcome to hell.
In later variations of Double Shield, you get to play Reaper at least. That was kind of fun.
Yeah, that was fun, but yeah, the majority of it earlier start, it was it's just not fun. But no, I mean like meta, it's meta for a reason, and you kind of learn to enjoy it more as you kind of understand how it works. At least in my case, that's what it's going to be. So if you guys want to learn it, then that's actually awesome. That makes teaching so much easier.
Right.
I mean,
because
it's hard to say because like I'm currently speaking for 6 people, so.
Well, yeah, but you guys are also the tank line. You are the anchor of the team. The team is gonna play around you, right? Like that's kind of like it's just how it works.
Yeah.
If the tank line is like, no, we're doing spam, and they go versus Sig, well, guess what the rest of the team is playing? They're playing spam, right?
Ren,
yeah.
Hear us?
Can who?
Yes.
Ren.
Yeah, Ren is just muted.
Orthus, permission to see Diamond Team 2 chat. Thank you.
Yes. Sec.
Basically, I'm gonna be posting a lot of this breakdown that you've done into there, and trying to describe like the same things, just so we have it written out before we get into like scrim tomorrow. Because I really want to run Hollywood and hope that we can just like do this stuff.
Yeah, like full hold, full cap, just fucking run them down. Yeah.
Yeah,
no, for sure.
I think the team we played against Eichenwald, they had set plans, and you could tell they had set plans.
Yeah, they had that fucking double shield bash, and that made me want to die.
Yeah, no, exactly, and like I know what the bot I did on Eichenwald with you guys. Like, I felt really bad because I was like I'm trying to give you guys something to work with. But I was like, it's just very like the other team is going in with a plan, and you guys are trying to figure out as you go, and it's just like, I'm sorry, but there's just.
I don't know if you noticed this, but Clones was on Soldier at the start. Instead of main tank.
I'm still learning who plays what.
Yeah.
And that's why, like, luckily with me, Trouble and Clones, you guys have the same Discord name as your in-game name. But like sometimes people like Door, it's like, well, I don't know who he is in-game.
He's Kamehameha.
Yeah. But that's why, like some people, some people are like, I don't even know who they are. There we go. Perfect.
He's been shamed.
Perfect. But yeah. So definitely, if you guys are running meta, that makes it so much easier. Because instead of having to draft out the comp, talk about how it plays, because like right now I've been teaching fundamentals, very big macro stuff, trying to dial it in on things. With with the meta, I teach you guys how the meta runs. And then we just go through, every single map and go, well, this is how we play it here. This is how we play it here. This is how we play against it. It's so much easier to teach meta because I don't have to teach you guys, all about spam and every spam variant and how to run spam everywhere. And same thing with brawl and dive. It's just the one comp, like we were just doing here. We talk about the one comp and we talk about how to play it, how to, what to watch for, etc.
And like,
right?
I think the difference between the Eichenwald VOD for the two teams, because you split up to two videos, is that like
Yeah.
they had compositional synergy, whereas we were just like kind of
You picked people.
yeah, and so it like
Yeah.
it's a difference of like you can talk about the compositions and how it works, like you tried to do with Li Jiang, but ultimately like our composition didn't really work on Li Jiang, and so we lost.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
like I'd
Yeah.
rather
No, exactly.
spend this time talking about what we should be doing as opposed to what we should have been picking. So
Yeah, no, exactly, and that's just it. Because like I feel bad just coming in and be like, oh, you guys should just make comp swap.
right,
Because
right,
like that's not very useful. So I'm trying to work with what you guys have, but sometimes it does boil down to like, yeah, you just should have not had this Junkrat against Defar Echo.
right.
Things like that. But like that's not really good, coaching. It's not good teaching. Instead, I try to work with what I have, and then like try and teach you guys to not put yourself in that situation, type of thing.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, but that's also why drafting out comps ahead of time is very important. Because then you can learn what you can and can't switch. Because if you're running dive and then you swap your monkey out for like a Sigma, it's no longer dive, right?
Right.
And like it seems like, well, yeah, no, duh, it's no longer dive. But then people do that with other situations, right? They'll take like a Junkrat out and then put in like a tracer. And it's like, nah, like you can't just do that, because if Junk is there for like shield break and spam, you can't flop that with a tracer, right? You could swap it with like a Hanzo, because Hanzo can do shield break and spam. So you can switch out certain pieces, right? You could swap a monkey out for a ball, but you have to realize what job they have in the comp so you can make a fitting replacement.
Right.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, thank you for doing this very much.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm always happy to
I
help.
appreciate it.
I think like going into the other maps that we have picked, like we can come up with these ideas if we have a composition. Like ideally tomorrow we start with Hollywood just right off the bat, and then as we
Yeah.
get like a vibe for how that's going, we can start doing that kind of stuff on the fly, because like
Yeah.
it's gonna be the same thing over and over again.
Yeah, exactly. That's what you'll notice is it's the same shit, just a different part of the map, right? It's teaching like the ideas, right? Of you hold corners and like this, it's a big box and then there's a side box. So you go, okay, we want to focus most things on the big box, but control the small box,
Right.
right? And it's like it's that exact same thing going over to third point. God, I wish I could fly faster.
I think if you
Um,
shift you can.
I am. See, that's what yeah, right. But then same shit, right? It's a big box and then it's two smaller boxes, but it's the same idea, right? Put most things on big box and then control the small box. And so by putting people in between them, you're able to divvy that up. And so it's the same idea. It's just duplicated here, because that's when it comes down to all about execution. So you're not thinking about where to play or how to play. You're just thinking about how do I execute what I need to do.
Yeah, I think for
Yeah.
maybe this is a generalization, but for like big chokes, we can just run brawl most of the time.
Yeah, no, and I mean, like, generalizing it is like, yeah, and generalizing is honestly the best way of going about it for the most part, because obviously you're always going to run into, well, it didn't work in this situation, and at first you're going to be like, but I don't know why. Then you VOD review it, and then you go, oh, this is why. So in my head, there's always 3 steps to learning, which is you learn it, you make the mistake, and then you realize it afterwards. Then you like way afterwards, right? Like in the VOD review. And then next time, as you go on and you learn, you make the mistake and you realize immediately afterwards, right? So say you go through it and you get full held because you couldn't get through choke. So then you're like, we should have just done this. And then lastly, you prevent the mistake because you might lose first fight and go, we need to swap because of this. So those are like my in my head, the 3 main stages of learning is you realize way afterwards, then you realize immediately afterwards, and then you're able to realize before it gets to a problem. Yeah.
Cool. It's a solid 2-hour session.
Sorry about that. I didn't mean for it to be this long.
Well,
No, you're fine, man.
appreciative. Like I don't feel like there was any dull moments in it, so.
Right on. I'm glad to hear it. Hopefully you guys found it helpful, and if at any point you guys have any questions or further comments or anything, feel free to reach out to me. I always respond faster to DMs just because I'm in so many Discord servers that
Of course.
if I get a ping, I gotta go through like 8 different channels and figure out where it came from, and yeah.
I'll be pinging in this channel the people what I really want to play, what maps I want to play, and then like the breakdown of what you told us. So.
Yeah, that'd be perfect. All right, awesome. And on that note, unless you guys have anything else you'd like to say, I think we can go and call it here.
No, I'm good.
I'm good.
Right on.
Thank you so much.
Cool.
Thank you for doing this.
Yeah,
Yeah,
much
absolutely.
appreciated.